What if I told you that a simple daily habit, something most men never talk about, could silently reshape the health of your prostate over time? For better or for worse. This isn't just speculation, it's rooted in science, and the truth may surprise you. For millions of men over 40, the prostate becomes a source of discomfort, urgency, and even fear. The late-night bathroom trips, the weak urine stream, the quiet panic when something just doesn't feel right down there. Yet despite all this, many still hesitate to speak up, even to their doctors. It's personal, it's awkward, so the questions go unanswered. But today, we're going to confront one of the most common and most misunderstood questions head-on. What really happens to your prostate if you masturbate every day? This video isn't about shame or opinion. It's about clarity, because the answer goes far beyond internet myths and whispers among friends. We'll dive into what actually happens inside your body as you age, how daily ejaculation affects your prostate, and the 3 powerful changes your gland undergoes after 40. You'll also learn about a controversial new theory from Japan, a natural blockage that could be behind your urinary struggles, and what to do about it. Most importantly, I'll guide you through 4 essential habits to protect your prostate for life, whether you masturbate or not. Stick with me because the truth isn't just interesting, it could change your future. Before we dive in, if you care about protecting your prostate and aging with confidence, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss a science-backed tip designed just for you. And if this message speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0, so I know how to serve you better. Let's start with the foundation. Understanding what the prostate actually is and why it becomes so important as we age. Most men go through decades without even thinking about this tiny gland until problems begin to surface. But the truth is, knowing how the prostate works is the first step toward protecting it. Because once you hit 40, subtle changes begin. Changes that most men ignore until it's too late. 1. What is the prostate and why it matters after 40? When I turned 42, I remember waking up one night, again, for the 3rd time to pee. I stood there in the dark, frustrated, wondering what had changed. I didn't feel sick. I wasn't drinking more water, but something just felt off. And that was the first time I seriously thought about my prostate. It's amazing how little most of us know about this small walnut-sized gland until it starts to make its presence known. Hidden just beneath the bladder and wrapped around the urethra, the prostate quietly plays a vital role in your reproductive health. It produces the fluid that protects and carries sperm, a role so crucial yet so easily overlooked. In your younger years, the prostate usually behaves. It's efficient, unnoticed, and rarely gives you any trouble. But around the age of 40, things begin to shift. Slowly at first, subtly. You might feel a little pressure after urinating, a slight delay in your stream, a growing sense that your bladder isn't quite empty, even though it should be. That's not random. That's biology. As men age, the prostate naturally begins to enlarge. It's called benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH, and it happens to the majority of us. It's not cancer, but that doesn't mean it's harmless. As the gland grows, it can start pressing against the urethra, which explains the weak flow, the frequent bathroom visits, and that nagging, incomplete sensation that becomes so common with time. And here's the part no one really tells you. This enlargement isn't just uncomfortable, it can quietly build into something more serious. As the prostate expands, it can hold on to excess fluid, causing internal pressure and leading to low-grade inflammation. You might not feel it directly, but your body does. That inflammation becomes the slow-burning fire that contributes to a host of other problems down the line. Urinary infections, bladder damage, even kidney strain if left unchecked. And for many men, that's where the fear starts to creep in. The silence around prostate health creates shame, so we ignore the signs. We brush off the symptoms. We tell ourselves it's just aging and that it'll pass. But that silence can cost us. because by the time symptoms are obvious, the damage may already be underway. That's why understanding your prostate is more than just anatomy. It's awareness. It's taking back control over a part of your body that directly affects your quality of life, your confidence, and even your relationships. I've seen friends go through it, I've had my own scares, and if you're over 40, chances are you've already felt the first signs too, even if you didn't realize it at the time. That's okay, because the goal isn't to feel guilty, the goal is to get informed. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. What if I told you that some of the biggest changes your prostate experiences aren't just physical, but hormonal? That your body's chemistry, the very hormones that once made you feel like a powerhouse, could quietly be driving the prostate's growth behind the scenes? Yes, your hormones are shifting more than you think, and it may be the hidden force behind everything from inflammation to abnormal cell activity. The second change after 40 is one that impacts every man, yet very few truly understand. Let's dive into the surprising hormonal shift that could be fueling your prostate problems and what you can start doing today to take back control. 2. Hormonal changes that quietly shape your prostate. It's strange how no one really prepares you for the hormonal shifts that happen after 40. I always thought hormones were something women dealt with more than men. But the truth hit me when I noticed subtle changes I couldn't quite explain. Less energy in the afternoons, slower recovery from workouts, a strange fog in my thinking, and yes, changes in my drive and confidence as a man. What I didn't realize back then is that these weren't just random signs of aging. They were the fingerprints of something deeper. Shifts in the hormones that silently influence everything from mood to muscle to, yes, prostate health. See, testosterone, the very hormone that once made you feel unstoppable, begins to decline gradually after age 30. You may not feel it immediately, but over time it adds up. You're not as sharp, not as motivated, not quite as driven. And while the world tells us to just man up and push through it, we miss a critical truth, that your prostate is deeply sensitive to these hormonal changes. But it's not just about testosterone going down. There's a more insidious process at work. As testosterone levels fall, more of it gets converted into a hormone called dihydrotestosterone, or DHT. DHT is like testosterone's overzealous cousin. It's far more potent and aggressive, and it has one favorite target, the prostate. High levels of DHT have been linked to the stimulation of prostate cell growth. That means as DHT increases, your prostate is quietly told to expand whether you want it to or not. It's like having a switch flipped on inside your body, telling the gland to multiply cells, retain fluid, and subtly shift your internal balance without any warning. Now here's where it becomes even more important. This hormonal imbalance doesn't just enlarge the prostate, it can also trigger inflammation and disturb the normal function of the gland. You may start noticing that your flow is weaker, that your urge to urinate comes more suddenly, or that you wake up feeling unrested after multiple bathroom trips at night. You might also experience changes you don't associate with hormones at all, like difficulty focusing, lowered sexual desire, or even anxiety. But these all stem from that shifting hormonal landscape that begins in midlife, and unless we address it directly, it only intensifies over time. I remember talking to a friend, he was 61, who said something I'll never forget. I didn't feel old until my hormones made me feel like a different person. That struck me hard because he was right. Hormones shape our energy, our drive, our stability, and our sense of control. And when they fall out of rhythm, everything else can feel off balance. The good news is that hormonal changes aren't a life sentence. You can support your natural testosterone levels with the right foods, movement, rest, and habits. You can manage DHT with smart nutrition, natural inhibitors, and lifestyle changes that help restore hormonal balance without synthetic drugs. But you have to be aware. You have to notice. You have to care enough to take action before the changes become problems. And while hormones may set the stage for change, there's another hidden risk that becomes more likely as the years pass. Something much more unpredictable. It's the slow accumulation of cell mutations, irregular growth, and silent abnormalities that quietly build inside the prostate without symptoms until it's too late. Let's talk about what really happens on the cellular level and why every man over 40 should pay attention before it turns into something far more serious. 3. The rising risk of cellular abnormalities. I remember the first time I heard the word biopsy in a conversation about prostate health. It wasn't from a doctor. It was from an old friend I hadn't seen in years. He was always strong, independent, the kind of guy who never missed a workout or a family event, but this time he looked tired, different. And when I asked how he'd been, he just shook his head and said, "They found something." That's the moment it hit me. This wasn't just about frequent urination or hormones going out of balance. Something deeper and more dangerous could be brewing beneath the surface, and it could be happening in any one of us without a single symptom. You see, the prostate, like any other tissue in the body, is constantly renewing itself. Every day, old cells are replaced with new ones. That's just part of being alive. But over decades, with billions of these tiny replications, there's always a chance, however small, that one of them doesn't go exactly right. A small genetic misstep, a tiny flaw, and that's how cellular abnormalities begin. Now combine that natural wear and tear with the two forces we've already talked about, an enlarging prostate that retains old fluid and a hormonal shift that fuels uncontrolled growth. That's a dangerous mix, because chronic inflammation, DHT-driven enlargement, and aging cells create the perfect storm for something to go wrong. And when it does, it rarely starts with a scream. There's no dramatic warning. No pain in the beginning. Abnormal cells grow quietly, invisibly, often for years. It's only when they multiply enough to press on nerves or interfere with urinary function that we finally take notice. And by then, the window for early action may have already closed. That's the real danger. Not the pain, but the silence. It's why doctors emphasize screenings. It's why PSA tests and digital rectal exams, as uncomfortable as they may sound, are absolutely worth it. Because these small measures can catch the warning signs before they turn into life-changing diagnoses. And here's something else that's rarely discussed: the emotional weight of uncertainty. That period of not knowing, waiting for results, fearing the worst, pretending everything is fine can take a toll on your relationships, your mental health, and even your sense of masculinity. I've seen it in men I care about. I've felt it in myself. But here's the empowering part. Cellular abnormalities don't mean cancer is inevitable. In many cases, they can be managed, even reversed, especially when caught early. The key is vigilance, awareness, and a willingness to stop ignoring the quiet changes happening inside your body. You don't have to live in fear, but you do have to live in truth. Your body is always giving you feedback. You just have to start listening before the message gets louder. And now let's circle back to the original question we started with. Because amidst all these risks, enlargement, hormones, cellular changes, there's one natural action that may actually protect your prostate. It's something most men do, but few realize could play a role in lowering their long-term risk. What happens if you masturbate every day? Does it make things worse? Or could it actually help your prostate stay healthy? The answer may surprise you, and it's backed by a landmark study that every man should know. Let's dive into the science. 4. The truth about daily ejaculation and prostate health. There was a time in my life when I felt embarrassed even thinking about this topic, let alone talking about it. Like many men, I grew up in a culture where anything related to masturbation was either laughed off or swept under the rug. So I never thought of it as something that could be healthy, certainly not something connected to serious issues like prostate cancer. But the science tells a different story. And once I started digging into the research, I couldn't believe I hadn't heard it sooner. A groundbreaking study published in the journal European Urology followed thousands of men for nearly 2 decades. What they found changed the conversation completely. The men who ejaculated more frequently, about 21 times per month or more, had a significantly lower risk of developing prostate cancer compared to those who only ejaculated 4 to 7 times per month. That's not a small difference. That's a major shift in risk, just based on one very natural function. Now, whether ejaculation comes through masturbation or intimacy with a partner, the mechanism appears to be the same. Researchers call it the prostate flushing hypothesis. The idea is that regular ejaculation helps clear out the buildup of old cells, waste proteins, and even potential toxins that can accumulate inside the gland. It's like keeping the pipes clean, reducing internal congestion and inflammation. It made sense to me in a strange way. The body doesn't hold on to what it doesn't use. And when that buildup sits for too long, it can create an environment where abnormal cells are more likely to take hold. But before we start calling masturbation some kind of miracle cure, let's be clear, it's not. It's a helpful piece of the puzzle, but it's not the whole picture. You can't expect to ignore your diet, avoid exercise, carry chronic stress, and skip checkups, and then hope that ejaculation alone will protect your prostate. It doesn't work like that. In fact, I've met men who misunderstood this completely. They assumed that if frequent ejaculation lowers cancer risk, more must be better. So they overdid it, turning what should be a natural part of life into a compulsive habit, one that left them feeling drained, emotionally disconnected, and even more anxious about their health. The key is balance. Frequency matters, yes, but so does context. If ejaculation becomes a mindful, intentional part of your wellness routine, rather than something done out of boredom, stress, or escape, it can absolutely support prostate function, relieve pressure, and promote healthier aging. But like everything in the body, the benefit depends on the whole system working together, and that's what often gets missed. We look for single fixes when what we really need is a foundation of support from all angles. And this brings us to something that's starting to shake up the entire conversation about prostate health, a theory that doesn't just focus on hormones or habits, but on a physical obstruction deep inside the gland. Some researchers are now pointing to a hard, compact mass of dead cells and toxins, something they call a hidden prostate clog, as the real cause behind urinary trouble and inflammation. What if the real problem isn't just enlargement or hormones, but something trapped inside your prostate that no one's ever told you about? And what if there were a natural way to break it down and flush it out? Let's explore this fascinating discovery next, and what it could mean for men who are tired of being told their only option is to wait, medicate, or operate. 5. A hidden prostate clog, a controversial new theory. I remember sitting across from a man in his late 60s. He looked frustrated, not just tired, but worn down in a way that went deeper than physical fatigue. He told me he'd done everything right. He exercised, ate clean, kept up with his checkups, and still, night after night, he found himself getting up to pee 3, sometimes 4 times, each time barely squeezing out a trickle. He said, "It's like something stuck in there and no one can find it." That comment stayed with me. Something stuck. At first, I brushed it off as a way of describing BPH or general inflammation. But then I came across a small group of researchers, primarily from Japan, who were saying the exact same thing, only in scientific terms. They call it a hidden prostate clog. Not a tumor, not a hormone problem, but a compact mass of old cellular debris, protein buildup, and toxins that can silently accumulate over decades inside the prostate. According to this emerging theory, this buildup isn't just passive, it actively blocks circulation, compresses the urethra, and disrupts the flow of fluid through the gland. It's like a plug in your kitchen sink. You can run water all day, but if that plug isn't cleared, everything backs up. What's fascinating is that these researchers believe this clog isn't being addressed by traditional medication or even most surgeries. It's deeply embedded and resistant to standard approaches. But here's the most intriguing part. They claim that a specific natural remedy, something as simple as a concentrated mineral-rich juice made from a rare spring source, may help dissolve this clog within days. Not by force, but by reactivating circulation and softening the hardened material so the body can release it naturally. Now, I know that sounds far-fetched. I was skeptical too. We're trained to trust pharmaceuticals, procedures, and tests, not herbal mixtures or old-world remedies. But when I watched testimonials from men who had tried it and described the sudden return of strong, steady urine flow, something they hadn't experienced in years, it gave me pause. Could it be that the root cause of so many urinary symptoms in older men isn't just an enlarged prostate, but a physical blockage no one's been looking for? Science is still catching up, and this theory hasn't made its way into every clinic or urologist's office. But just because something is new, or not yet mainstream, doesn't mean it's not real. Every medical breakthrough began as a controversial idea someone was brave enough to explore. What I've learned from stories like these is that we can't afford to ignore the unconventional, especially when conventional methods leave so many men feeling stuck, medicated, or worse, hopeless. The body has incredible wisdom and power to heal if we know how to support it. And that brings us to a critical turning point in this journey. Because whether you believe in the clog theory or not, one truth remains. Your prostate needs help flushing out waste and inflammation, and the only way to do that is by building the right daily habits that support circulation, hormone balance, and detoxification. No pill alone can do that. So what exactly should you be doing every single day to protect your prostate from the inside out? There's a 4-pillar action plan every man should follow, and it starts with the one thing most of us avoid for far too long: facing our health head-on. Let's walk through it together. 6. Your 4-pillar action plan for prostate health. I'll be honest, there was a time when I thought I could outsmart my body. I figured if I ate okay, stayed busy, and just powered through the discomfort, things would sort themselves out. But the human body doesn't work that way, especially not after 40, and definitely not when it comes to the prostate. The truth is, there's no shortcut to long-term prostate health. But there is a clear path, and if you follow it consistently, not perfectly, you can dramatically improve the way you feel, function, and age. I call it the 4-pillar plan. It's simple, practical, and it actually works. The first pillar is the one most men delay far too long: medical checkups. I get it. No one enjoys talking about their prostate, let alone getting it examined. But this isn't about discomfort. It's about staying alive. Starting at age 40 or earlier if you have a family history, you need to schedule regular appointments with a urologist. These visits usually include a PSA blood test, which looks for elevated prostate-specific antigen levels, and a digital rectal exam. I know the thought of that can make any man cringe, but let me tell you something. 15 seconds of mild discomfort is worth decades of peace of mind. Catching a problem early can literally save your life. The second pillar is your diet, and not just avoiding the bad stuff, but choosing foods that actively fight inflammation and support hormone balance. That means cutting back on processed meats, fried foods, excess sugar, and anything that clogs your system. Instead, focus on whole foods, leafy greens, berries, legumes, olive oil, fatty fish, and one powerful ally you may already have in your kitchen: tomatoes. Cooked tomatoes, tomato paste, and even ketchup are rich in lycopene, a powerful antioxidant proven to protect prostate cells. It's one of the few superfoods with real science behind it when it comes to this particular gland. The third pillar is movement. You don't need to become a gym rat, but your prostate relies on blood flow, and blood flow depends on motion. Aim for 30 minutes of brisk walking, light strength training, or cycling most days of the week. But there's one exercise most men overlook: Kegels. These small, invisible movements strengthen the pelvic floor, improve urinary control, and support the muscles surrounding the prostate and bladder. You can do them at your desk, in the car, even while watching TV. The results over time are incredible. And finally, hydration. It seems almost too simple, but drinking enough water each day helps flush the urinary tract, dilute toxins, and ease pressure on the prostate. Aim for 2 to 3 liters a day, more if you're active. It's a habit so basic, yet so often neglected. Your prostate depends on that regular cleansing process to function smoothly. When these four pillars come together, they don't just improve prostate health, they transform your quality of life. Less urgency, better sleep, more confidence, and most importantly, the peace of knowing you're doing your part to stay strong and independent for years to come. But even with all of that in place, there's one more piece to this puzzle. A quiet force that determines whether your efforts stick or fade. It's not a supplement, it's not a food, it's something deeper, a shift in how you see your own aging, your role as a man, and the power you have to reclaim control. Let's talk about mindset, the unspoken engine behind every transformation, and why it might just be the missing piece to unlocking the full potential of your prostate recovery. 7. The mindset shift that reactivates manhood. There's something I've noticed over the years, something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. You can give a man the best diet, the best supplements, the best fitness plan, and still nothing changes. Not because his body can't respond, but because his mind hasn't caught up. His beliefs about aging, masculinity, and his own worth have quietly turned against him. And that silent shift, it can hold more power over your prostate health than anything you eat or drink. I learned this lesson the hard way. After following every recommendation, changing my meals, exercising, getting checkups, I still felt like something was off. I wasn't feeling stronger, I wasn't sleeping better, I wasn't myself. And one morning, after a restless night filled with bathroom trips and restless thoughts, I looked in the mirror and asked, what if this is just who I am now? That question, soft, quiet, and terrifying, was the real problem. Because when you start believing that decline is your destiny, your body listens. It adapts to the story you're telling it. I realized I had slipped into a passive identity, one where I accepted discomfort as normal, silenced my frustration, and buried my fear behind humor or distraction. And that mindset, more than my hormone levels or prostate size, was keeping me stuck. But here's the truth I had to face. Manhood doesn't vanish with age. It just needs to be reawakened. And that begins with permission, the permission to care for yourself without guilt, to speak openly about your body without shame, to reclaim pride not in toughness but in intentional action. When a man shifts from reacting to problems to taking ownership, everything changes. He stops avoiding the doctor out of fear and starts going out of self-respect. He stops numbing discomfort and starts learning from it. He stops apologizing for his needs and starts honoring them. I've seen this shift in others too. The man who finally told his sons he was struggling to sleep and was met not with judgment but with support. The man who did his first Kegel exercise in secret, then laughed with relief when it actually worked. The man who asked his wife for help preparing prostate-friendly meals, not as a weakness but as a team effort. This mindset shift is not just about motivation, it's about identity. You are not a symptom. You are not a diagnosis. You are not your age. You are a man with influence over his future, and the moment you believe that again is the moment your body begins to respond. It's not easy. There will be moments of doubt, fatigue, and even backsliding. But those moments are not failure. They're invitations to pause, recommit, and keep showing up for yourself in small but powerful ways. Because when the body senses that you haven't given up, it doesn't give up either. And that leads us to the most important part of this entire journey. Everything we've covered, the hormonal shifts, the risk of cellular changes, the truth about ejaculation, the new theories, the 4-pillar plan, all of it comes together in one ultimate question. What kind of future do you want to build for yourself from this point forward? Let's bring it all home and talk about what that future can look like when knowledge, action, and belief finally align. 8. Final thoughts. The choice every man must make. If you've made it this far, I want to say something that most men don't hear often enough. Thank you. Thank you for caring about your health. Thank you for staying curious. And thank you for having the courage to face a topic that so many avoid until it's too late. We've walked through a journey that isn't just medical, it's deeply personal. We began by understanding the prostate itself, that small but powerful gland that quietly shapes so much of our male experience. We looked at how it changes with age, how hormones like testosterone and DHT begin shifting the landscape inside your body, often without warning. We explored the rising risk of cellular abnormalities, the silent growth of what you can't see but need to be aware of. And yes, we finally confronted a question most men are too embarrassed to ask out loud. What does daily ejaculation actually do to the prostate? The science gave us a clear answer. It's not something to feel ashamed of. In fact, it may be one of the ways the body naturally protects itself. But we also learned it's only one piece of the puzzle. Then came the controversial idea of a hidden clog, something that may be blocking your progress no matter how cleanly you eat or how often you exercise. And to truly break through, you need structure. That's where the 4-pillar plan comes in: routine checkups, an anti-inflammatory diet, regular movement, and consistent hydration. Simple, but powerful. But none of it works, not fully, without one final ingredient: your mindset, the way you see yourself, the way you speak to yourself when no one else is around, the quiet decision every day to fight for your energy, your dignity, your manhood. I can't make that choice for you. No doctor can, but I will say this: when you start choosing yourself over and over again, your body listens, it heals, it strengthens, it responds. And from there, everything changes. So here's the truth: aging doesn't steal your power. Giving up does. And today you just proved you're not giving up. Now let's keep moving forward together.